Jalen? Absolutely. I can dance.
It's hot out there. Let's blow them off the line of scrimmage. Hold on, okay.
Live from the RamCave, I'm Joe Terosian, and this is RamView, the April 16th, 2025 edition, brought to you by Kistler Law Firm. Injured in an auto accident, need help, got questions? Call Kistler Law at 661-206-6990. That's Kistler Law at 661-206-6990. And check out KistlerLawFirm.com. That's one word, KistlerLawFirm.com. Kistler Law, they've been fighting for you since 92. And by Temple City Auto Repair, having some auto issues, get yourself some John and Henry at TempleCityAutoRepair.com. All right, happy to be in the house. USA X-Pac, did you see that arm, man? Did you see that arm? Did I flex that left arm pretty strong there? Hey, I'm just happy to stay on schedule the way things have been going for me this last week. So glad you guys are here. I'll get right to the questions. But first, let me just do my little push here about Jalen Ramsey, because everyone's talking about Jalen Ramsey. You know, in 2024, Ramsey thrived. I'm going to say he had a good year. Played some wide corner, slot corner. He lined up in the box for the Dolphins. Thing is, he turns 31 this October. I like Ramsey. He can do so many different things, but the issue with Ramsey right now is his money, right? His money. I'm going to drop in here. These are his cap hits. I'm not really looking at how much he's making as much as I'm going to drop in there is that what his effect is, because I only care about the cap hit and I only care about what the dead cap hit is. And so I've dropped those in there. Now, PFF grades him out as the 10th best corner. I think we've learned, right? I think we've all kind of learned not to necessarily trust PFF wholly and completely. I think they're a great place to start, but we don't trust them. So here we go. Next year, this coming season, Jalen Ramsey is scheduled to make 16.6 with a huge dead cap. He's not going to get cut, I doubt very much, by anybody. So he's a 16.5 rock hit this year. If the Rams are able to get that, I'll pay that. That's okay. It's Jalen Ramsey, right? Jalen Ramsey. Here's the problem. It just escalates in the years 26, 27, and 28. In 2026, he's scheduled to make 25 rocks with an 18.4 dead hit if something happens. Let's just say Rams make a deal, he whiffs, Rams are hurting, right? They're going to owe 18 rocks in dead money if he can't play anymore. In 2027, he's 26.8 rocks, 11 dead. That's a little more reasonable. And then in 2028, and I don't think he's ever going to see this, he's 36 rocks, 36. The Dolphins gave him this money, 36, and 4.9 is dead. I don't think he's going to see that money. He'll get bought out or paid off in a release or something like that. The question here is he's not elite anymore. He's really good, but he's not that shutdown corner guy anymore. And as the Rams start getting into the 26th season, if Jared Verse stays on track, Jared Verse is going to get paid sooner rather than later. Kobe Turner is heading into his third season. And I think we're discovering about Kobe Turner is he's legit, that he just wasn't feeding off of Aaron Donald. So that's something to think about if you're going to bring in that kind of money. Like I said, for 2025, it seems reasonable. And I'm sure the Dolphins would be happy to take back a third-round pick or a fourth-round pick for Jalen Ramsey, because Dolphins aren't going anywhere. They're just not. And I'd be happy to accommodate them, but they got to pick up some of that salary, right? The other question that comes up with Jalen Ramsey is, what would you do with him? Well, I do a little bit of everything. I like I said, I don't think he's a shutdown corner anymore, but I always felt under Raheem Morris, he was underutilized. I felt like he should have been blitzed more. He should have been moved around. He might not be that shutdown Lester Hayes, Mike Haynes corner anymore, but he's a heck of a football player. He's a football player first and foremost. And then the other thing to think about, well, one thing to think about after that is think of your cornerback room in 2026. Rams get through the 2025 season. Going into 2026, Akilla Witherspoon will be a free agent again. Kobe Durant will be a free agent again, or for the first time. Darian Kendrick likely will be a free agent. I'm not quite sure if something changes with his contract because of the missing all of last year. And then Darius Williams will be going on 34, and he'll definitely be a free agent. Then there's Emmanuel Forbes and a 32-year-old Ramsey. So it's something. And if you're paying Ramsey a lot of money, and then you're going to have to pay Verse, you're going to have to pay Kobe Turner, that's where things get a little shaky. I want him back as a football player. He's a great Ram, had a great run, speaks great. The organization loves him. Everything's good about Jalen Ramsey. But if they make the move and draft or trade for Jalen Ramsey, Dolphins are going to have to eat some of that contract. And I don't think it would preclude the Rams from drafting another corner, say, in the third round this year. And I think that's where the Rams should draft a corner. I think all the corners that we talked about on Monday's episode, was they're being forced into the first round at number 26 because of the Rams' need. But if you look at everything else, the Maxwell Harristons, the Trey Amoses, you're seeing them more in the early second round. And I think that's where they should be drafted. And some of those guys are going to be there in the third round. So wanted to get that out there. I saw the questions line up, guys. I promise I'll get to them now. USA Expat, I did show my arm off there. Bill, I am all for Ramsey coming home. USA Expat, me too. Ramsey and Witherspoon, great duo. Let's see. Tim Burns saying, what's up, Ramily? Tim Burns has a great piece coming out on Jackson Dart, head of schedule. And from somewhat others that are turning their opinions around about Jackson Dart. Looking forward to posting that at Mid-Valley Sports very soon. Steve Ramirez, Dolphins need to eat most of that salary for me. Bingo. Absolutely. Steve Ramirez, Nico. Did you get the Tennessee quarterback, Steve? Did that get finalized? Bill, I agree with Steve. That's regarding the Ramsey contract. Tim Burns, I would take Ramsey if a bit of that first year dollars is paid by someone else and only the 1 year. I don't mind paying the 16 rocks for this year. It's the 25 and escalating salary that he gets the next 3 years. Let's see. Tim Burns, Joe T must be doing his Jeff Wilkins impression and getting another hernia. Oh, man, you're killing me. Steve Ramirez, I thought I read Ramsey's deal is only guaranteed through this year. I looked on Spout Track, and I was just looking at what the dead money would be, because if there's a lot of dead money, right, doesn't that mean that's guaranteed money, right? And so that's what I saw on Spot Track. So I'll take correction. USA X-Pack, save dollars by not extending Kyron Williams. All right, USA X-Pack. If McVay wants him, they can make it work. I think that's a great point there, USA. The Rams have a tendency, salary-wise, to make a lot of things work, right? When you think of the NFL salary cap, it's like that line from Pirates of the Caribbean, the movie, where it's like they're more like guidelines, right? They're more like guidelines. They're not really hard and fast rules. Bill, I think we can get Ramsey for a fourth this year and a fourth next year. I'll dance with that. Homeboy's healthy. I'll dance. USA Expat, a fourth, and Colby Parkinson. Bill, I bet you Donald is calling Ramsey and begging him to join the Rams. Boy, that would be, what would we do, right? I'm gonna throw a wrench into that one. I think Ram fans would probably have a hallelujah jubilee moment if Ramsey came home for the Rams at the right price and Aaron Donald decided, hey, my cup is not quite full yet, or I bought a bigger cup that I have to fill up. The only wrench I'm going to throw into that one is what if, does that stunt with those two guys? Does that stunt Quentin Lake? Does that stunt Jared Verse? Does that stunt those guys in terms of how do you say it? Does it stunt them in terms of leadership and taking control? And that's the only thing I would think about there. Tim Burns, how does NCAA fix the bag chaser issue? Isaiah Bond maybe getting Matt Arizad. Oh, good point there. I got a little blurb on that, Tim Burns. That's a good point. You read my thoughts. NIL level athletes need a class on hose and a strip club avoidance. Yeah. Okay. Bill, after next year, Ramsey's contract is not guaranteed. Steve Ramirez, I'm all in on UCLA getting Nico if true. Tim Burns, can you imagine how scary a woman has to be for Donald to get a restraining order? Rachel Ziegler crazy or Kamala cackled. Is that bad? All right. I want to go back to Bill. After next year, the Ramsey contract is not guaranteed. I'll take correction here. I just know when you're paying dead money, that means there's money still due. Is that not correct? And so and again, you guys, I trust you as much as anybody. Look it up on there. Go to Over the Cap or go back to Spot Track and look at it. But he's scheduled to make in 2026 25 rocks. If something happens, he's an 18.4 dead cap hit. Why, if the money's not guaranteed, would he be a dead cap hit? I'm probably reading something wrong. And if none of that money's guaranteed, then you should have made the deal yesterday. That's what I'm going to throw out there. Should have made the deal yesterday if none of that money is guaranteed. All right. That was the bulk of it there, talking about that Rams cornerback room. I think I would not bring Jalen Ramsey and expect him to shut down the other team's best receiver. I would bring him out there to move him all around on that defense, like they did kind of in 2022, but we needed to see more of because I think he's just a great football player. All right, got some more Ram talk, a little bit about some Ram history, and then of course we're going to talk draft again. But I wanted to do this in terms of around the NFL and other places, free agents that are still out there and where they're being rumored to. Okay, if we know Aaron Rodgers, we know that one. Keenan Allen. I've heard a rumor that Von Miller. Read a rumor. It's not like someone's calling me up. Read a rumor about Von Miller going to the Patriots. Amari Cooper flirting with the Cowboys. And then out there still is wide receiver Deontay Johnson, who I think has worked his last game in the NFL without having to go to the CFL or the UFL. I think he's talked himself out of the league. Brandon Scherf, guard, who's kind of at the end of his run. And, Matt Gay is out there. In case anything happens with Josh Carty, I can hear you guys already saying, give me some Matt Gay. But do you know who else is still out there? And I think there still might be something left in this guy. You know who else is still out there? Carson Wentz. The Chiefs did not re-sign him. They brought in Gardner Minshew as their backup. And Carson Wentz is still floating around out there. Now, Carson Wentz's last season with a competent NFL team was in 2021 with the Colts. 27 touchdown passes, 7 interceptions. And I think 2 of those interceptions were in the week 2 game against the Rams. And, it took a heck of a throw from Derek Carr in Indianapolis late in the season to kind of derail the Colts from clinching a playoff berth. And then they lost to Jacksonville the last week of the season. And after 27 touchdown passes and 7 picks, Irsay and company decided to move off of Wentz. Then he went to Washington with the Taxkins, but that is, pre-Harris. Is that the new owner now? Yeah, is it Josh Harris? Pre him, everything new that has happened there. And he got cut when that season was over, but there was nothing he can do that. Spent a year on the pine for the Rams, started week 18. Spent a year on the pine with the Chiefs. I think he started week 18. And I don't know. I think if I was going to take a swing on a quarterback, if I knew there wasn't a quarterback that I was going to be able to get to, right? Think about I brought up the Saints. Saints need to rip off the Band-Aid, start dealing all their stuff, right? Just get rid of all these guys, go through a full rebuild, and ease the pain a little bit. Instead of Spencer Rattler, Jake Haener, or Ben DiNucci, why not take a shot with Carson Wentz? Let me throw another one out there. The 2 quarterbacks currently on the Steelers roster, Mason Rudolph and Skylar Thompson. If you don't want to deal with all the issues of Aaron Rodgers, because Aaron Rodgers has no place to go right now. If he's thinking, hey, the thing in Frisco falls apart with Brock Purdy, if it doesn't work out in Minnesota with J.J. McCarthy, maybe I can go there. Well, Carson Wentz is a guy that's available now, and he's not banged up anymore. And maybe you could take a shot at him. He's got starting caliber talent. His former teammate, Jonathan Allen, who's with the Vikings now, said it's a misnomer that he was a bad dude in the locker room. And there's also, I saw rumors and speculation online that the Vikings might be looking to sign Carson Wentz as the backup to J.J. McCarthy. That would put him with Kevin O'Connell. That would put him with another good quarterback guru kind of coach. And again, close another door or any leverage for Aaron Rodgers. I just find it fascinating that Carson Wentz is out there. And, if everything fell apart for the Rams, I don't want to see John Wolford, and I don't want to see Stetson Bennett. I'd rather see Carson Wentz come back. And I think there's some teams out there. I think Carson Wentz is suffering from just reputation. And I don't know if it's as bad as, Jay Cutler or Jeff George. I don't think he's any one of those guys. And just something to keep an eye on about Carson Wentz. Also, another name that is out there, and I think for the right price with a chip on his shoulder and something to prove, could be Nick Chubb, a running back that I wouldn't be surprised if somebody takes a flyer on after the draft and gets him at a cutthroat price and then gets a lot of clicks out of him. You're not going to give him his 14 rocks and all the money he's wanted. That those days are gone for Nick Chubb. He's not a 1,500-yard back anymore. But I think you could find a place for Nick Chubb. I think you could. If the Rams didn't draft a running back and he wanted to come and just, chase a ring, maybe I'd dance with Nick Chubb a little bit. Would you? Kind of interesting. I'm Joe Terosian, a sports writer for 21 years. I contribute to Mid-Valley Sports right now. I posted on Mid-Valley Sports Ram Notes, some of the stuff that I'm talking about today, some of the stuff we talked about the day before. You can check that out. Also, I write books. My books are on Amazon. Check them out. Every time you buy a book, you support and help me stay on the air. And of course, the key to us staying on the air is exactly what's over my left shoulder here, Kistler Law, and their support financially, their sponsorship. I can't say enough about them, not only as people, but I can't say enough about them as far as how they do their job, because I've seen it in action, how they do their job. Be sure, if you have an auto question, an auto need, give Kistler Law a call, because they'll answer it all for you. Also, be sure to check us out on Spotify at From the RamCave. And all these things help me stay employed in my day job. I pastor a small church in Burbank Faith Nazarene, and you can follow us right there, right here on YouTube at Burbank Faith Virtual, burbankfaithvirtual.com, and Burbank Faith Virtual all across social media. I'm also a board member of Outsiders Camps, and it's Christian camps we run for young people. And you're going to probably see me this summer in different environs. I'll probably be on the air with a crazy background. It won't look anything like the RamCave, but just to give you guys a heads up, I think you guys have seen that before. All right, let's go back to some of the questions here. Let's see here. Okay, Manny Correa saying hi. Manny Correa saying hi to everybody else. All right, Isaiah Bond countersues his accuser. I read the article on it. The woman is 8 years older than him. And right, I definitely think, especially in the age of the NIL, where these athletes definitely have money, Mr. Burns and I were thinking alike. They need to hire somebody to give these guys a class about what they do and who's pursuing them. Now, does this mean Isaiah Bond's absolutely innocent? I can't say so, but he did turn himself in. And what I really liked about it is he's countersuing this individual. And how do I say this in a polite way for somebody that's been in a position of where I could be easily accused of anything? And I've dealt with other people, and it's like, if they make an accusation, that's exactly what it's going to be. You make an accusation. People say, "Well, Joe, aren't you a Christian pastor?" and everything like that. I said, well, as a pastor, the only thing you got is your reputation. That's all you got. And if somebody makes an accusation against you, you have to go after them. And right now, Isaiah Bond's 21, 22 years old. He's made some significant dough, made some foolish choices. Okay. But if he didn't do anything, I like the response of countersuing the one accusing them, because You need to humiliate them. I know this sounds crazy. This is how I feel, is that you got to destroy that person's reputation because they're out to destroy yours. And I laugh because Mr. Burns was right there with me on this. So I'm kind of fascinated about how, you don't read that too often. Accusation is made and no one responds to it. It's like, oh, they're just untrue. The kicker for the Ravens is, believe it or not, his name is Tucker. His name slipped me there for a minute. Justin Tucker. It's like he had all these accusations. Oh, it's not true. It's not true. Well, show me. Go after that person, or go after the many people. You saw this with Deshaun Watson, who, by the way, says he's going to come back stronger than ever. Someone makes an accusation, then I'm going to come after you, right? You pull a knife, I pull a gun, right? That's the Chicago way. And when it comes to your reputation, that's all you got. And so I'm going to talk too long on this, but I was kind of interested there that Isaiah Bond did already file a countersuit. And then, of course, the Tennessee deal, Nico Imaleva, all right, the former Downey guy from Long Beach. This guy sent an NIL deal after his junior year. And he got 2 rocks, I think, last year for playing. Hey, he's perfectly within his rights to do what he wants to do. But, when I'm coming off a playoff game against Ohio State where I was 14 for 31, 103 yards, no touchdowns against Ohio State, I think I might want to do something a little bit more. I think I might want to make it not public. I want more money. I think I'm going to show up to practice. I think everybody knows it. Bad advice. Maybe his next stop, he'll learn better. I'm kind of curious where UCLA gets the dough, being a public school, where they get the dough to feed Nico. I know Steve Ramirez is happy because he's a UCLA guy. It would be fun to see. I'd like to see UCLA do well, but I don't know. I liked him during the season, but man, I saw him in the playoff game and I was really, really disappointed. Really disappointed. And so good for Tennessee. I know Urban Meyer, some of the other guys came after Tennessee. What are you going to do now? It's like, you know what? At a certain point, you got to hold on to you got to have a bad case of integrity, right? You got to have a bad case of integrity and just say, you're not going to hold us hostage. And unfortunately, Heupel, Tennessee, and a lot of these programs, they are paying the debt that the NCAA incurred for all of its nefarious acts. The NCAA is so corrupt, it makes me sick. So the pendulum has swung, and now these guys are suffering for it. Really, if Tennessee is serious about wanting to do this right, they talk to Alabama, LSU, they talk to the SEC, they talk to the Big Ten, and what you do is you get your own commissioner and you tell the NCAA to pound sand, right? And you stop signing people to scholarships, you start signing them to contracts. You start signing them to contracts and get this under control. It doesn't upset me. It doesn't upset me. The kid saw an open door. He took it. Get what you can while you can. But it was bad advice, man. It was bad advice. All right. And then in the come and go.
They come and they go, Hobbs. They come and they go.
Logan Bruss was released this week by the Tennessee Titans. And, he blew out, his ACL again after 3 games with the Tennessee Titans last year after the Rams put him in the street. And just a real bummer. I hate for him being labeled a draft bust. I think it's the injuries that have really, KO'd him. The preseason in 2022, recovering from it in 2023, getting limited shots next year, getting his feet wet. And I do think whatever he had when he was at Wisconsin is not there anymore. If the Titans are releasing Logan Bruss, that could be about it, I think, for Logan Bruss. And I'm sorry to see that. All right, let's see. NFL draft is next week, and April 24th through 26th. And then second week in May, we already know who the Rams' opponents are, but now we'll find out second week in May, the 13th or 14th, we find out when they play and where, when and where they play these games. I think it's real critical for the away games. When are you going to Philadelphia? Are you going to Philadelphia in September, or are you going to Philadelphia in December, right? Are you going to Baltimore in September, or are you going to Baltimore in December? Remember, the Ravens are always the team, and this held true last year. When you're going through September and October and halfway through November, everybody in the KBM declares the Ravens are Super Bowl favorites, and then the reality sets in the fall or in the winter time. So yeah, when are the Rams going to be on the road? They're also on the road against the Jaguars. They're also on the road against the Titans. And, of course, the Falcons are an indoor game, and they're also on the road against the Panthers. So looking forward to that schedule release on when those games are being played. Yeah, it's a tough schedule, but I like the away schedule in terms of I only see two teams that I think the Rams are capable in every one of these games. The two teams that give us the most trouble probably will be Philly and Baltimore, and in terms of winning. Cardinals are going to be good. I think the Cardinals are going to be better than people think. I think they're going to be the threat in the West this year for the Rams, but I think the Rams will handle them. All right, let's see here. Boom, boom, boom. Steve Ramirez, UCLA has a collective. All these D's come from collective. They can't be directly from the school. True. Tribe, UCLA hasn't been good since Dick Vermeil. They need Nico. Tribe, I'm going to push back. There was that Donahue run from 82 through 86, right? Tom Ramsey, Rick Neuheisel, Steve Bono, was it then Matt Stevens? They won 3 Rose Bowls, right? And the Fiesta Bowl. In fact, Bono, I think, outdueled Bernie Kosar in the Fiesta Bowl in 84, I think it was. Or it would be January of 85. And that was before Bernie bailed, went supplemental draft to the Browns. They had that run there. I know it was a limited run, but I know Steve was living large. I know it was a happy time for him. I was rooting for UCLA against Iowa. And yeah, we don't know what happened in that game to Iowa, right? That game a little sus, right? But Eric Ball had a game that was pretty good. Ronnie Harmon had some struggles. And then, of course, the win over Michigan in 82, that aesthetically beautiful game against the Fighting Illini in the 83 or January of 84, that Rose Bowl with Rick Neuheisel. That was a nice run for the Bruins. And I'll be honest, I think it was in 98. They were undefeated. I was rooting for them. I actually, for the first time in my life, rooted for them against USC because that team with Cade McNown and Bob Toledo had a shot, right, of playing for a national championship until they went to that postponed game in Miami and they made Edgerrin James a star. So, yeah, that one was. So I'm not anti UCLA, but I guess there we go. Hey, I just wanted to look at this real quick here, talk about quarterback rooms and who the Rams have interviewed, just or had any kind of connection with that we know of. Stafford, Jimmy Garoppolo, Stetson Bennett are currently in the room. Quarterbacks the Rams apparently have had contact with: Jackson Dart, Jalen Milroe, Quinn Ewers, and Tyler Show from Louisville. Running backs right now: Kyron Williams, Blake Corum, Ronnie Rivers, Cody Schrader, Royce Freeman, and then Auburn running back Jarquez Hunter, 5'10", north-south runner for the Tigers, and Cam Skattebo, Arizona State. Those are two guys the Rams have had conversations with. At wide receiver, we've covered this. We've kind of gone over this, a bit didactic. Puka Nacua, Devontae Adams, Tutu Atwell, Jordan Whittington, Xavier Smith, Drake Stoops, Quintez Cephas. And the receivers they've had some contact with: Matthew Golden, Tez Johnson, Trey Harris, Ole Miss, Tony Horton, Colorado State, Isaiah Bond, and Arkansas wide receiver Isaac Tesla. Tight ends right now: Davis Allen, Colby Parkinson, unless Tim Burns gets his wish, or is it USA Expat wants Parkinson made part of the Ramsey deal, and Tyler Higbee. Tight ends the Rams have spoken to, had an interaction with: Tyler Warren, Gunnar Helm, Colston Loveland, Mason Taylor, and Nebraska's Thomas Fidone. Offensive line at center: Jared Wilson from Georgia. He would be coming into a mix with Bo Limmer, Coleman Shelton, and Dylan McMahon. Guards right now: Kevin Dotson, Steve Avila, Justin Diedick, KT Levinston. The guards the Rams have spoken to: Sac State's Jackson Slater, South Carolina's Torresili Simpkins III. At tackle, this one's Alaric Jackson, Rob Havenstein, Warren McClendon, A.J. Curry. The only guy that's listed that the Rams have spoken to is Kelvin Banks out of Texas, and he's expected to be gone before the 26th pick. On the interior of the defense, the swing player, Texas A&M DT Shamar Turner. At the cornerback room, Zy Alexander, Dorian Strong, LSU and Virginia Tech, respectively. In the linebacker room, and I'm starting to getting a little more of a vibe here that if this guy is there. Right now, the Rams have Landman, Spates, Neal, Fields, and Troy Reeder. But between his interview and just some of the buzz I've read in different places, if Oklahoma linebacker Danny Stutzman is there in the 3rd round, I could see the Rams drafting Danny Stutzman. Also, there's linebacker Carson Bruner and Manny Correa's favorite safety linebacker hybrid from Syracuse, Justin Barron, who runs 6'4", 225. If you can get Justin Barron at 6'4", 225 to give the Rams what Mark Barron gave them, then you got something. The Rams have interviewed 3 safeties. As of right now, John Johnson's not back in the fold. So it's Cam Curl, Quentin Lake, Cam Kitchens, Jalen McCullough, and the eternal practice squad player Tanner Engel. But they've spoken to Texas safety Andrew Makuba, Virginia's Jonas Sanker, and Georgia Malachi Starks. I would never be surprised when the Rams draft a safety. The Rams draft safeties all the time. And then nothing really on the edge. I've seen someone say that Shamar Stewart, the Texas A&M guy, can flash out on the edge. That's about the only thing I've seen there. And then that's it. So those are the players the Rams officially have had a workout with, spoken to. Kind of got to scour all over the internet for that. If you know of any others, feel free to throw it my way. Let's see what else we got here. Steve Romero. Oh, let's see. Blah, blah, blah. Manny Correa. If I'm all in, if Colston Leveland is there at 26. All right. Manny Correa, Bob Toledo, Cade McNown. All right. We were just talking about that. Bob Toledo had 6 wins against SC. Yeah, but that was, that was John Robinson's second tour. That was also the Paul Hackett era. That was brutal. The Paul Hackett era was really bad. And so there we go. All right. Let's look at some mock drafts here. Right here, I saw the Athletics mock draft for the Rams. This included no trades. Just their mock draft for the Rams that was 5 hours ago, 6 hours ago today. The Athletic has it number 26. The Rams taking Josh Connerly, tackle who could play some guard from Oregon. If the Rams did that, that would not bother me, right? That would not bother me. I'm open to almost anything the Rams do. In the 3rd round, has the Rams taking Quincy Riley, Louisville. He's 5'11", 4'4". He could be the wide corner. He could be the slot corner. First time I've seen his name dropped in anywhere with the Rams. Another one that came up, 3rd round pick, 101 overall. This is a compensatory pick for Raheem Morris. The name Danny Stutzman, linebacker, Oklahoma, popped up again. And so, again, you're seeing, trends, right? Then at number 127, they have the Rams taking Kyle McCord, the Syracuse quarterback, former Ohio State quarterback. And that just seemed kind of high to me, right? That just seemed kind of high. Is he more talented probably than Stetson Bennett? Sure. But, man, I think you can get a Kyle McCord in the 6th round or 5th round if you wanted to package some of those 6th-rounders together. I rather would have gone after a tight end there, maybe another edge guy, maybe another corner and such. So then in the 6th round at 190, Athletic has the Rams taking Ricky White, the 3rd, UNLV. Kind of slow, 6'1", 4.6 in the 40, but typical Ram guy type of receiver. I get where they do that matchup. Have not seen his name anywhere. 6th round, 195. Overall, defensive tackle Cam Horsley out of Boston College, 6'3", 312. I do like that size there. And I'd love to pair him with Poona Ford, which would be really, really cool to see. I'll drop this list in there for you guys. They won't let me. All right, let me see what I can do here. Let's see. Boom, boom. Let's see. Boom, 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 boom. I want you guys to see this. Let's see. How about the first four rounds for the Rams? There we go. Let's see if they'll let me do that just so you can see it. Because me just reading it off is All right, there we go. That's the first 4 rounds of the athletic draft, and then the athletics mock draft is coming right now. This is all the 6th-round picks, and here we go. Again, names that I have not seen anywhere linked to the Rams. So just trying to make you guys aware, just letting you know who's out there. Jalen Conyers, had not seen a lot of him out of Texas Tech. I have heard of Q Robinson of Alabama, but I never seen him linked to the Rams. Just wanted to throw that out there for you guys to see. All right. Let me see here. Okay, I wanted to do one more thing before we get to the Stone Groove.
It was a stone groove, my man.
Yes, it was a Stone Groove. All right. Let's see. Tim Burns. Is it likely Dart available after 26? I asked, thinking about how far back would we trade down and still have a likely chance to get Dart, 35, 40, or not at all. You know, it all depends right now, because all of a sudden the Saints are quarterback hungry. The Jets should be quarterback hungry. The Browns should be quarterback hungry. The Giants should be quarterback hungry. And we don't know what they're doing, right? I don't know, because Shedeur Sanders is such a wild card. Remember Bo Nix, right? People were out on Bo Nix. Bo Nix is going to go in the 2nd round. He's going to go just before the end of the 2nd round, in the 50s. And that guy moved all the way up into the 1st round. And so we could see the same thing happen again. And so I don't know. There was a lot of heat earlier this week talking about Jalen Milroe. And then somewhere yesterday, it kind of floated back to Jackson Dart. I think Jackson Dart could be a guy that's probably better fit for the 2nd round, but because of needs. Now, I'm the guy that's saying I don't want to draft a corner at number 26 if I can get a corner later, but a quarterback's a different breed. And I have no problem if the Rams draft a Jackson Dart and sit him for 2 years, let him learn, let him build confidence. And let's just say he plays for 1 year or he sucks. Guess what? It's like an appetite, right? You're always going to have another appetite, right? You ruin your appetite, you'll get another appetite, as Jerry Seinfeld says. You screw up pick number 26, guess what? You're going to get another pick. The Rams survived Greg Robinson, all right? Number 2 overall, all right? I'm not going to say they survived Jason Smith, number 2 overall, but they survived Greg Robinson. Within a couple of years, they were in the Super Bowl. I have no problem if you've got a chance to draft a quarterback who could be your guy for the next 10 years, take him at 26, right? But I get the feeling someone's going to panic. Someone's going to pull the plug or push the button and say, no, we got to grab this guy, right? Honestly, the Steelers, I do not understand. Right now, you're playing with Mason Crosby and Skylar Thompson. That's like playing, blackjack, right? With what, a 2 and a 3? I don't know. I'm not a card player. That's like getting one of each in a game of 5-card stud. It's just you got no cards to play. There's nothing there, right? So I think the Steelers and Omar Khan and those guys, if they let a Shedeur Sanders or a Jackson Dart slip by them, and they haven't signed Aaron Rodgers or Carson Wentz, they should be fired. They really should be. It's ridiculous. You screwed up on Kenny Pickett. Okay, you got to keep going in if you're going to compete. You got to keep trying. And there's another draft pick. How many times did the Browns screw up a draft pick before Baker Mayfield came along and got them to the playoffs? Right? It happens. It happens. How many times have the Rams screwed things up? It happens. Yeah. Steve Ramirez. I think teams would only trade up with the Rams to get Dart. And if that's the case, then I got no problem with that. I'm just saying if we're stationary at 26 and he's there, you grab him, right? You grab him. If you want to move back because you're thinking, oh, man, I can pick up an extra piece here and there, and for some reason Dart falls to 35 to 40 or something, draft Dart. I would. I think you got to take a shot at it. Steelers are playing low ball. Yeah. I don't know, man. Steeler fan Rob doesn't listen to the show anymore because his team sucks. Honestly, someone made a suggestion they should trade TJ Watt, and I agree with that suggestion. They should trade TJ Watt. Just like the Browns should have traded Myles Garrett, right? I don't care how great your edge guy is. He can't throw 40 yards downfield, right? You got to have the guy that can throw 40 yards downfield. We've got a generational guy, a generational talent in Lamar Jackson. Great player, hard worker, good leader, does everything right, except he just can't throw the ball to that next level. And that's why his teams are always going to be vulnerable in the postseason, although you would never hear about it because it's always, for the KBM, it's always going to be the Ravens' fault for not putting enough talent around him, right? So you got to have the guys that can throw the ball. You could have the guy that can run. You could have the guy that can run around and do all those things, but you still got to have somebody who could throw like Matthew Stafford, right? You still got to have somebody who can throw like Patrick Mahomes, right? You still got to have somebody like Tom Brady. You still got to have somebody like that. I think Jalen Hurts was a bit of an outlier last year. I don't think he's a great thrower. I think he's a great leader who has a heck of a team, a great offensive line, a great running back, and a superior defense, right? I think that was the difference. And he caught the Chiefs in a down run, right? But you need that elite thrower. And I don't understand why teams just don't keep taking swings at quarterback. Manuel Correa, let's see here. I want Francisco. You just throw these names out here just to mess with me, right? Maui Goa, Miami linebacker. I'll look him up. Steve Ramirez, Rams had a DL GOAT and didn't win the Super Bowl until they got the elite quarterback. There you go, Steve. Steve, we're going to put you in the Hall of Fame on this show. We're going to put you in the Hall of Fame. All right, I didn't get to what I wanted to get to, but keep throwing questions there, guys. Your opinions mean something. It forces me to work, and it's true. Manny, you guys are always throwing names out there. Sometimes I beat you to the punch. Sometimes you guys beat me to the punch. But it's one of the things that even when I preach, I always know there's somebody out there that's going to ask me a question about what I preached about, and I better be able to answer it. So it makes me work harder. Okay, these are some teams that really interest me this year. Now, it's easy to say the Bears, okay? But I'm not going to go into too much of the Bears. The Eagles interest me. You know, they signed Dory Jackson, they signed AJ Dillon, and they re-signed Zach Braun. And Lane Johnson got extended another year. But they lost Josh Sweat. That guy's good. They lost to C.J. Gardner-Johnson. And I understand Gardner-Johnson's a football player. His legs are probably going. They also lost Darius Slay, and Brandon Graham retired, although he says he's leaving the door open. But those are a couple of spiritual locker room guys. They also lost Kenny Pickett, but we're not counting that. And I'm curious to see how that defense responds. I'm really curious to see. Also, they lost Mekhi Becton to the Chargers. And so I'm curious to see, again, how are they going to respond going forward? So that's one team that really, really interests me. The other one that interests me because I'm a Ram fan is the Cardinals. I'm sorry. They brought back Evan Brown. They brought back Baron Browning. They brought in Josh Sweat. They brought in a competent backup in Jacoby Brissett. They brought in Dalvin Tomlinson, who I was arguing for on the front line. They brought in Calais Campbell on the front line. They extended Trey McBride, and they still got Buda Baker back there on the back porch. That team, to me, is really interesting, right? Now, Kyler Murray is talking about how he wants to run more. I'm sorry, I'm speculative on Kyler Murray wanting to run more. Kyler Murray wants to run until he gets hit. That's my opinion of him right now. We used to talk about this. I don't know if Steve talked about it when he was at the Trib, but we used to talk about this at the Mid-Valley, is there were running backs, and we even had coaches tell us that there were running backs and players, they played and then they just didn't want it anymore. They just didn't want to get hit anymore, right? And so they went down and they weren't as aggressive, and pretty soon their career was over. And any thoughts of them playing on Saturdays after their high school career, whether it was at a JC, D3, it wasn't going to happen because they didn't want to get hit anymore. Kyler Murray, going back to that playoff game against the Rams, that's what I saw. I saw a guy who didn't want no more, and I don't trust him. And if he's going to run more, great. I think he's a talented passer, but let him run more. Let him run more. That means he's not throwing to Marvin Harrison and Trey McBride, okay? But that Cardinal team is really interesting to me. The 49ers, not so much. And Seahawks, we'll see, right? We'll see. Another team that is interesting to me, the Patriots. This is who they brought in on defense. The Titans, Harold Landry. They brought in the Lions, Carlton Davis, who was playing great. They brought in Milton Williams. Milton Williams from the Eagles. That's another guy the Eagles lost. And Milton Williams was the guy that made Bo Limmer look left instead of right when Jalen Carter blew by him. They also brought in the Raiders' Robert Spillane, and that's defense. And that's pretty impressive. They signed Morgan Moses, who had a pretty good year with the Jets for his age and for when he's been around. They signed a journeyman center, but he was a starter for a number of years with the Vikings, Garrett Bradbury. And they brought in Stephon Diggs to help with Drake May. They made some moves, and that's, to me, it's really, they're going to be interesting to see because right now I think they can beat the Dolphins. Right now they beat the Jets. And I think Josh Allen's team is better, but we're going to see where the Patriots, some people are saying Patriots going to the Super Bowl. Going to the playoffs. And I'm possibly, right? Possibly. The Broncos are interesting, but not as interesting. They brought in Evan Ingram. They brought in Trey Gradlaw, Talanoa Hufanga from the 49ers. But it's the Raiders that interest me, just because they just need stability. And that's what Pete Carroll's going to provide. That's what Tom Brady being involved is probably going to insist on. They extended Max Crosby, but what went under the radar was they brought back safety Isaiah Pola-Mao. And that guy, he's not Jack Tatum. He's not, he's not Troy Polamalu, right? He's not Reed, from Baltimore, but he's solid. He's a solid safety. So that's steady stuff. They also brought in linebacker Devin White, and they brought in Alex Kappa, who's the back end of his career, but Brady knows him. Raheem Mostert, who was still moving pretty quick for a guy in his 30s, and Geno Smith, who, Geno's not great. I'm not saying the Raiders are going to go to the playoffs, but if they can get just some stability there, right? We were hoping for this with Antonio Pierce. If they could just get some stability, that Raider team is going to be really interesting to watch going forward. That team really, really interests me quite a bit. And so that's the team I kind of have my eye on. The Chargers, Khalil Mack, Najee Harris, Donta Jackson, Taylor Henneke, Mike Williams back, Mekhi Benton, Tyler Conklin. They got to draft a receiver. They got to draft another receiver. They got to get another tight end. They got to get another weapon for Justin Herbert. I know they keep talking about a defensive lineman or something for him. You know what? Do something for your quarterback, right? You already whiffed with Quentin Johnson. Of course, different admin that made that pick, but the Chargers need to draft another receiver and go to town. That's where they need to go. If not, Colston Loveland at tight end, they need to draft another receiver. They need weapons, right? Najee Harris is a great move. Mekhi Becton, as long as he doesn't fall off, that's a great move. Him, along with your bookend tackles, that's going to be really nice for the Chargers. That makes them dangerous. Chiefs, they got Hollywood Brown back, Nick Bolton. They signed Elijah Mitchell from the 49ers. They signed Jalen Moore, who you don't know. Jerry Tillery, they brought back Kareem Hunt, Juju Smith-Schuster, and Gardner Minshew. I don't know. I think the Chiefs, man, you don't want to count Mahomes and them out, but I think the Chargers are ready to take a leap here. I think they really are. So there we go. I wanted to get some of that stuff out of the way, get that stuff cleared because it's going to back me up. All right, let's see. Okay, let's see. Email. You'll send my mock. Do you have my email there, Manny? There we go. JT Bank 1964 at yahoo.com. All right, there you go. Send me your mocks. I think I missed one from Dano, who sent me one, and that's when I was doing my hospital stuff. There we go. All right, now we got it.
It was a stone groove, my man.
All right, let's go. This date in Rams history. On this date in Rams history, they released wide receiver Jesse Hester, the former Raider burner, was a first-round pick of the Raiders, 23rd overall in 1985 out of Florida State. He only got 56 catches with the Raiders, but he had 6 productive seasons with the Colts. And in 2 years with the Rams, he caught 75 passes. But Jesse Hester, forgotten Ram, just wanted to throw that one out there. That's about it for today. Tomorrow, April 17th, 1997, the Rams send the number 6 overall pick, the number 67 overall pick, the 102nd overall pick, and the 207th overall pick in the 1997 draft for a first-round draft pick. Does anyone know who that draft pick was? I'll come back to it. 1999, Rams trade Tony Banks to the Ravens for a 5th-round pick in 99 and a 7th rounder in 2000. On April 17th, 1999, the Rams draft at number 6, Torrey Holt, and at number 41, Dre Bly. Talk about getting things right, okay? And in 2000, they signed undrafted free agent wide receiver Dane Looker, who gave the Rams a couple of productive years as a backup. April 17th, 1935, Lamar Lundy is born, drafted 47th overall, 4th round in 1956 out of Purdue. Rams traded him to the Chargers in 70 when he was done. But Lamar Lundy played some tight end, had 60 career sacks, the forgotten member of the Fearsome Foursome. Everyone knows Rosie Greer, everyone knows Deacon Jones, and everyone knows Merlin Olsen. All 3 of those guys, actors, outspoken guys, everything. Lamar Lundy was the quiet one, but he would be 90. He would turn 90 tomorrow. Also, born in 1972, a free safety out of Virginia. The Rams spent a 3rd-round pick on him in 1994. His name was Keith Lyle. Now, the bummer for Keith Lyle was Kay played the last year in Los Angeles and then played 6 more years in St. Louis. And the bummer is, he picked off 28 passes. He was part of the Super Bowl 34 team, and he's kind of lost to history, right? But Keith Lyle was a pretty good free safety for the Rams. He was part of the Rams draft class in 94 that included 1st-round pick Wayne Gandy. Wayne Gandy was a tackle. Evan Hotz, you nailed it. Okay, Evan Hotz nailed it. That 1st-round pick in 97 was Orlando Pace. There you go. But a few years before, Rams drafted Wayne Gandy, I think at 15th overall out of Auburn. And Gandy wasn't bad, right? He wasn't Jason Smith. He wasn't Greg Robinson. And he wasn't who's the other? Alex Barron. I'm sorry. Alex Barron gives me shivers. Wayne Gandy was solid. Had a nice little career with the Rams. I think he ended up with Pittsburgh. But the Rams drafted him. They also drafted a guy named Isaac Bruce. They also drafted another guy named Toby Wright, who paired with Keith Lyle, who was part of that same draft. That was probably the Rams' last really good draft class until later in the decade. And it showed. If you watch how the Rams in the 90s, how their draft class just fell apart, you see and understand why they were so bad in that decade. And then when you see what happens after the greatest show on turf, I've broken it down. I guess I haven't done it this year. Maybe I'll talk about it or post it at Mid-Valley Sports. I usually do it every year. How after the greatest show on turf year, starting in 2000, actually, after winning the Super Bowl, you see this drop off in draft picks, right? Jimmy Kennedy, Damian Lewis. You just see these whiffs. Trung Candidate. You just see Adam Carricker, Ty Hill, and just for a decade they missed on their picks. And maybe I'll work on that a little bit for Friday. I'll post it at Mid-Valley Sports tomorrow. But you see how it led to a disaster. You could have a bad draft. You just can't have a series of bad drafts. And that's what did the Rams in during those years. Evan Hotz nails it on Orlando Pace. All right. I think I got it all in. I feel like I've just been talking, and there we go. All right. Hey, what if one of these days we did a Zoom call where I could see you guys face to face? Would you guys be up for that? We did because I got to get a Zoom. I'm thinking about getting a Zoom account, and you could do it for 30 minutes for free. But, if I'm going to pay for it, I'd want to use it a little more than once in a while. And I was thinking, what if once in a blue moon, once in a week, we did a Zoom call, and then I could record it. And I could, of course, post it here and post it around social media. But this way I could see your faces, and then you guys would get a chance to talk. Just something I'm throwing around out there. Let me know what you think, and I'd appreciate it. All right. I think we got it. I think we're in 50 minutes. We did it. I hate leaving with an audience. Guys, you're so cool. Thank you so much. Follow us on Spotify. Buy the books. USA Expat, thank you. You got good stuff, too. Tim Burns, I want my Jackson Dart article. God bless. Take care. Send me your mocks.